Hello there, what is going on everyone? Today we are going to be talking about how to assemble the miniatures for StarCraft, the miniatures game. This is going to be a newcomer friendly guide talking about how I put these together, what types of tools I use, what type of glue I use, and what I recommend to you guys. This is also going to be a guide that will kind of work across all general modern miniatures games. Doesn't just apply to StarCraft, but since this is the newest game that I've been covering lately, I figured I would do one for this one particularly because it seems like the StarCraft miniatures game has reached a lot of people who are fans of the video game that maybe weren't as in touch with modern miniatures wargaming, or maybe a little out of practice and want to know what the best and most effective ways to build these miniatures are. So I'm going to give you my tutorial on how to assemble miniatures for StarCraft, the miniatures game. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click the link in the links in the description below. You can pre-order your copy of StarCraft the miniatures game there as well, and all that other stuff. Plus, we have giveaways going on right now. A new one that just started for another $25 Amazon gift card. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. Let me know some of your favorite games down in the comments section below. Let's jump right in. So we're going to want to get a lot of tools and pieces and things that we're going to need to make this all work. We're going to want sprue cutters. We're going to want some kind of tool to sand or file down bits. We're going to want glues. We're going to talk about the different types of glues. Of course, we're going to want our instructions and our sprues and our bases and all the pieces that we're going to need. And I'll start talking about these in detail. First thing is a sprue clipper. You're gonna want one of these now. Don't just use a normal pair of wire cutters, although you can. They tend to be much thicker and will put more diagonal curves into your plastic, possibly damaging it. One of the interesting things about a sprue cutter is you see how they are very, very narrow. Here at the bottom, when we look at them sideways, you can find these at any hobby store, any tabletop gaming store, any Warhammer store. They come in a lot of different companies make them. This one is by Army Painter. I also have one by Citadel, but there's lots of different varieties. You can find these on Amazon as well. So if you win that Amazon gift card, you can do that as well. And the other thing you're going to want after you clip these off, there's usually going to be bits that need to be sanded down. There are a variety of different tools that can kind of push the plastic down, sand it down. You can use maybe an emery board or some different sanding tools. I personally like to use an X-Acto knife, but I'll use both the front of the knife and the back of the knife, depending on if it's I need to make like a fine cut to cut a piece off, or if I just want to smooth it out. Sometimes I'll use the back. You can use a butter knife for something like that as well. There's a lot of different things that you can use, but we'll illustrate parts where it's important to kind of sand down parts that will prevent your miniatures from kind of adhering closely together like this. Next, we're going to want our instructions, and we're going to kind of locate the page in the instruction booklet that talks about the type of miniatures we're going to put together. In this case, we're going to put together a Zergling, and I'll want to reference here, this is going to talk about the piece. Sometimes you will see optional assembly like this, and these are usually going to be indicated in the table of contents. This symbol here means that this is an optional assembly. Basically, this is the right half of the Zerg. I can put either one of these left halves on. This one is going to be the clear plastic one that we can use, or we can use the standard Zergling body on this side. So in this case, we're going to do this left half and this right half. So I'm going to need to locate A1 and A2. And we're going to identify our sprue. Now, if I start looking at this sprue, do not just grab any left side body. If you notice, for example, they are marked. So in this case, this one is E21, but it's pointing down to this piece. And typically all of the A's are going to be grouped together, B's are going to be grouped together through E and F and G, for example. Now this sprue here has only E, F, and G on it. So just because it's a Zergling sprue doesn't mean it's the right sprue. So we'll then have to look through our different sprues until we find the one that has A. Sometimes other miniatures games will have miniature pieces for one miniature on multiple different sprues, but so far it doesn't look like they've been doing that here for the most part, outside of the clear plastic effects, which will be on another sprue. But if we go over to here, we're going to see we've got A2 right there, and make sure you look at the arrow. It's very easy to potentially get confused and see this A2 here and not know if it's this piece or this piece. The arrow is going to point it there. Also reference the picture. Make sure the piece you're cutting out looks like the picture, and if you ever get confused, look for the arrows again. So here we have A2, and we're also going to have A1 right here. So what we're going to want to do is take our sprue clipper and come in there and cut this piece. Now we don't want to cut it too close and risk damaging the piece. It's better off to cut it a little farther from where it connects, because then we can always sand that down. And so we're going to clip there, and then we're going to do this on the bottom side too. Sometimes you'll see a piece that has only one point of connection, like this one only has right now. You may be tempted to try to spin it and twist it off. I would advise against that, because that can sometimes spin and damage the plastic as well, and we're going to be left with just our piece. And as we look at it, we're going to see there are certain bits on top and on the bottom here that are just little extra connection points, and these are the pieces that we're going to sand off. All right, so I've got A1 and A2 here. Archon has also put a little A reminder in there, and then we have little bits in here that are going to help it kind of guide into each other. There's little kind of extrusion points in here and little divots in here where they can kind of go together. And what we would want to do is we want to assemble these together. But if you'll notice, they don't kind of go together at flush right away, and that's because I haven't cleaned them off yet. And so this is where I'll take my, this is where I'll want to go in here and clean that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to file these down like so. And again, you don't have to use an X-Acto knife for this. If you are a kid, careful with X-Acto knives, right? If you're an adult who's never used this before, be very careful. And I'll use the back here just to sand it down, to smooth it down a little bit. This is something that is going to happen a lot on curved surfaces, on helmets, on shoulder pads, and things like that when there is a connection. Sometimes the connection point is covered up by other parts of the model, but we're going to want to just kind of smooth that out. We're going to do this all across. All right, so now that we've got all of our pieces, our shavings, here's a little shaving right there. After we got all of our little shavings off, we can now attempt to put this together. And we always want to do something called dry fit, which is before we put any glue on, because we are going to glue these together, we're going to push it together first and make sure that it fits correctly and there's no line in there now, and we're golden. Actually, for these, I sometimes notice a little bit of a line inside the mouth, but that's going to be covered up when we put the jaw in anyway. And it fits together all the way. There's no gaps, there's no shavings blocking the way, so we're ready to apply a little bit of glue. So when we talk about glues, there's various types of different glues that people will use. There's super glue, and the super glue comes in lots of different forms. It comes in that old crazy glue, comes in tubes, it comes in lots of different applicators. I particularly like to use Loctite super glue. Usually a gel control or an ultra gel. Anything that's not a gel is usually going to come out very liquidy and is likely to get on your fingers and stick pieces together, and it really is a bummer. There's also the plastic glue or plastic cement, and these I tend to use Tamiya Extra Thin. What this is basically is a different type of glue that works specifically with plastics, these type of plastics, modeling plastics, and what it's going to do is it's going to sort of melt the plastic, and it'll kind of fuse them together. This third, which is kind of it's not really an official thing, is called sprue glue or sprue glue. I've heard it called both, and it's where you take some of your plastic cement and you add bits of sprue to it and shake it up, and it becomes like this extra thick paste. It's usually gray, and it is kind of gotta shake it up a little bit. It's much thicker. This mine is a little thin right now. I have to add some more sprue to it, but it ends up almost coming like almost like an Elmer's glue kind of format, and you can use this to fill in gaps, or if something breaks off or something like that, or if something just doesn't go together right and you notice later on in life that there's a gap, you can use this to fill in. Or it's more of a problem solver glue. This is more of an advanced technique, so probably we'll just be using regular plastic cement for the miniature here. I recommend using this for the miniature, and I recommend using the super glue for the base. And there's a couple of reasons for that. This again fuses the plastic together, kind of creating one cohesive piece for the most part. And whereas super glue can break off, the cement takes longer to dry. The super glue dries faster. But if you ever drop the miniature, or if you ever break it, it's usually going to break at the point of the super glue, and that generally means it can be fixed. You can just glue it back, as opposed to your miniature actually breaking like in the plastic. It's especially deadly for resin miniatures. Well, you have to use super glue a lot more because the plastic cement doesn't work the same way on resin. So super glue will be used on those a little bit more, but since these are plastic, super glue still works, and you can still do it, especially if you think you're going to want to break something off. You can stick a model in the freezer. That makes the glue a lot more brittle, and it can snap right off very easily. This also means that if you store your miniatures in ultra cold temperatures, they may start to break off. So don't stick your models in the freezer. I don't know why I'm telling you that. I don't think anybody here is going to stick their models in the freezer, but it can happen, I guess. So we're going to start off. We're going to be using the cement here. So I want to give you just an idea of how the cement works. What we'll generally do is we'll take this applicator brush, we'll apply it to the part that we want to glue something else to, and then we'll stick those together. And then we'll have to hold this. You can hold it for about 15 to 20 seconds, depending on the type of connection. If it's just a one face to one face connection, you'll have to hold it a little bit more. And then now all of a sudden it will stick. Now this isn't going to be completely welded or bonded. And the cool thing about this is if you make mistakes, or you're still, this is especially helpful on models with two shoulders and they're holding a weapon. Sometimes you have 3 points and you need to all get them to triangulate fine, because I can still move this around a little bit. And I can take it off, and you can see that they've already started to fuse a little bit. If I put a little more on there, if I put it on extra heavy-handed, it's going to fuse even more, and it can get a little sloppy. So you don't want to use too much of this glue or this cement. And plastic glue and plastic cement both work pretty similarly with this. I think they have different drying times, but the principles are the same. And the important thing for this video, you can already see we're starting to get like webbing as we start to pull it apart, as they're starting to fuse a little bit in there. So that's how this works. And it'll once it's fused, these will basically be one piece. So I like to start out, I'll take my stuff and I'll drip it off. I don't want it to be too wet, especially when these things are full. They can carry a lot of this. And I want to get the in little divots in here, the points that are going to have the connection. I don't want to put too much in here. If you put too much in, some of it will like leak out. It is very watery. It's a very alcoholic kind of smell to it. And if it spills out, it can kind of run all over the sides, and then your fingers are touching it or whatever. You might get fingerprints in the model, and then we're going to push that together and give it a nice hold. Because there are divots already that are kind of surrounding the pieces, and it's kind of a natural groove. This is going to actually be ready to work with in just seconds, and so we can start to put extra pieces on there, and we're ready to keep going. As we're moving forward, it's important to read through a lot of the additional steps, so this way you know what kind of Zergling you're building, and this applies to all models, to know what variation you're doing. For example, you're going to see wings on this piece, but they're an optional assembly, so we're not actually attaching the wings. I've already attached all the wings to my Zerglings for my unboxing video, and I've done all of that already. So in this case, we're going to put the legs in here, and the goal is for it to look like this type of Zergling. The reason I reference the instructions again is, if you'll notice, this guy has a peg here that is going to affix to a kind of rock and foot assembly that go on to the base. And that's important to know, because when we go to clip out the sprue, there's an important detail I want to show you. So we've got A4 and A5 right here, and as we go to clip them out, it's very easy just to follow. You kind of get into a groove, and you start getting faster the more you're doing it. It'd be very easy to cut the bottom of his foot right here, but it's important to know that this peg is important for its assembly, because that clips him into the other foot piece, and that's for stabilization. So if we look really closely, we can see the sprue connection point is right here. So that's where I want it to clip. Again, this is one of those reasons we use these very narrow sprue cutters, as opposed to just a larger wire cutter that you might have in your toolbox. And then we'll continue to do the rest of the steps. We'll clip this out, and we'll clean off the bits. Another important thing about cleaning is that we're not always doing it just for the sake of connecting to other pieces. Sometimes we're doing it because it would look bad. So for example, maybe this piece right here, right? It has an extra piece. That's supposed to be one smooth kind of tendon or bony sinew kind of piece, and maybe we want to just smooth it over. So maybe I'll just... There we go. All right, so now that we've got both of our legs done, once again, we're going to dry fit. Make sure that this fits in there nice and easily, and we're good to go. And now we'll apply our glue, or cement rather, and we'll put it in the connection points and just a little bit around there. And there's a little bit in that kind of dimple there as well. And get that in and hold that for a few seconds. We're gonna do that for both sides. Now that we've clipped off the jaw, you can see there's a little piece right here that we're gonna have to sand down. We can do that on the other side. This is a more important task on big bone kind of extrusions that are more iconic for the miniature. So we're gonna sand those down before we put those on. Okay, and again, we always dry fit, even with things that are obvious. We're going to kind of slide the jaw up in there, make sure that that works. Yeah, he can talk to you.
Hello, my name is Zergling Zed, and I just want to hug the Terrans. I promise. I'm not going to bite them. Not anymore.
You know, that's what they sound like. I bet you didn't know that that's what they sound like when translated. And we're going to go ahead and get some glue in there and then apply that the same as we normally would. The jaws on these kind of sometimes can get stuck in the hands a little bit. So sometimes I'll jump ahead and I'll assemble the jaws before I put the arms on. But whatever your prerogative is. The more comfortable you get, you can, move around with the steps a little. The last part is the base. The feet are going to go in here. These are like the front of the claws, and so this is going to help hold it down. Not all miniatures have a base like this. Sometimes when the feet are flat on the ground, usually your human models tend to do this. Then they'll just go straight to the base. Whether you do it, in this case, we're using a 32 millimeter base, not the 50 millimeter base. This is the smaller base that comes in the box. Same one that the Terrans use, and this will go on there. It's important to sand these down, though. You see, like after clipping it off, a lot of times the base pieces will be like this, and if we don't sand it down, our glue won't even touch the base. You can see right through it, right? So this is an important step here, and this is why I talk about the importance of kind of filing these things down, sanding them down. This is one of the times I use the X-Acto knife to make it nice and flush and flat, and I'm going to do this on. There's 3 different points. Always be very careful though. I mean, go nice and slow. And there's no hurry here. So once I do that, now it'll rest flush on the base and my glue will work. But the first thing, before I put that on the base, I'm going to put the Zergling model in here. And for these base pieces, I'll use a little extra, go a little heavier on the cement. I don't mind if like the dirt and stuff gets warped a little bit or has a fingerprint in it, but I wanted to have a little extra because I want a tighter hold on the bottom, because this is supporting the whole miniature. And they kind of slide in there right there. You can actually see the bits underneath. And then we're ready to fix this to the base. Now this is a time that I will not, this is kind of when I stop using the cement. Usually bases don't kind of behave the exact same way, and I usually prefer to use super glue on the bases, and so we're going to do that here. So in this case, I'm just going to squeeze a few drops of the gel on there to hold it down. I don't need to lather it on there, but I like the gel control for that purpose. It doesn't make a mess. And I'll just set that down and let that dry for a little bit. Try not to get my hands, I already got it on my thumb a little bit. I'll let that dry. There's also a trick with baking soda and super glue if you ever have a model that is kind of in a running position that has maybe just one foot on the ground and they're like this, all right? And maybe that one foot is just not balancing, it's difficult to glue, or you don't have time or patience to hold it until it's fully dry. If you sprinkle a little bit of baking soda on the glue as you're applying it, it's gonna kind of accelerate that, and it's going to harden within like 2 or 3 seconds. And that's a good way to kind of get a very brittle but very hard seal that dries instantly. So that's another tip. I do want to point out that with the clear plastic bits, as you assemble those, the transparent plastic also goes together with the cement just fine. The visors especially go in there excellent. These sort of external bits here for like the shooting effects that you can put on the rifles, they also work, but there is only a tiny little narrow connection piece in here. So if you're using this cement, you may want to hold it there for a lot longer because there's not as many surfaces to grab it, not as many places for it to adhere to become one. So in this case, you might want to use super glue with a little bit of baking powder. Just keep in mind that there's sometimes a white residue when you use the super glue, and it can be like kind of around, it kind of like leaks out or spills out. Plus baking powder, unless you're very, very precise, you'll get it all over. So you may want to kind of dust it off after you're done. But if you're going to then prime and paint, then it's no big deal. But yes, you can use the same process for the clear plastic as well. And that is everything you need to know for how to assemble the StarCraft miniatures for the StarCraft miniatures game. This is hopefully your first step towards getting these together, or maybe answer some questions on what kind of products I use or what I recommend. You can find these on Amazon. I think I got all of these on Amazon as well. So best of luck to you. And if you have any questions, let us know down in the comments section below. You can also join our Discord, which is in the video description, and keep everything coming. If you're interested in Patreon as well, we have links down in the video description for that, and plenty of cool things that remain down there. And that's going to do it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are absolutely amazing and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.